What is going on, Crimson Tide fans? Chris Daughtry here with the Alabama Football Report by Chat Sports. Coming up on today's show, we are breaking down what things look like right now in terms of Alabama's 2026 recruiting class. So far, filming this video here on Wednesday morning, they have 7 commitments. Maybe by the time you watch this, there's another commitment added to the fold. But as of me filming this video right now, Alabama does have 7 commitments in this class. Who knows? After they landed Jett Thomalla yesterday, Courtney Morgan, Alabama's GM, also put out the eye emojis. So don't know if that has to do with Jett Thomalla or somebody else possibly committing here soon. But we're going to break down the 7 guys that Alabama currently has committed right now in their 2026 recruiting class. Before we get into that, just want to take a look at where things sit as well for the rankings right now. 247 Sports and Rivals still has Bama really low down there in the 40s. And then On3, I think On3 does a little bit better job of taking more into account the quality of the player instead of just the sheer number of commits that a specific team has in their class right now. Because you see USC, they've got like 20-something commits, but like 17 of those guys are like 3 stars. So, I mean, are they really the number one class in the country? I don't really think so. They got some good players, definitely, but I do think On3 takes the quality of player into account a little bit more than some of these other recruiting sites. So let me know here in the comments section of today's show, where will Alabama's final recruiting class end up ranking? Let me know what you guys think. Is it going to be a top 3 class, top 5 class, top 10 class? Definitely think it's going to be a top 10. Probably going to be a top 5 as well, with the quality of players that they have, set to make decisions, and Alabama being in a really good spot for their recruitment right now. So let me know where you guys think Alabama's final 2026 recruiting class will finish. Let's start off first here with Jett Thomalla. He ended up committing yesterday, flipped from Iowa State to Alabama, and this is about as good as a quarterback that you could really ask to get coming off of the recruitment of Keelan Russell. He's 6'4", 210 pounds, the number 16 quarterback in this class. Also a multi-sport athlete. Really encourage you guys to go over to his Twitter page or go over to my Twitter page. I retweeted it yesterday. His dunk reel is just absolutely insane. So the athleticism that this kid can bring to the table is just top-notch here. He actually did also set his official visit to Alabama coming up this weekend as well. So that's going to be really important. You have your quarterback commit now. He's going to be on campus with some of those really notable 5-stars that'll be on campus, like Jamarion Morgan, the number 2 running back, E.J. Crowell. Those guys are going to be on campus this weekend for official visits as well. So just adding Jett Thomalla to the fold is going to be really positive for Alabama, I think. You look at his stats that he put up last year, nothing short of just really, really good. Ended up taking his team to the state championship game, threw for over 3,600 yards, 47 touchdowns to 3 interceptions. It's one of the most impressive things to me, just being able to take care of the football and get the football to your playmakers. That is what I love the most about really all of these quarterbacks that Alabama has been targeting in this 2026 recruiting cycle. This is actually, Jett Thomalla is out at the Elite 11 right now, and he sat down with 247 Sports yesterday, and he talked about the decision to end up flipping his commitment from Iowa State to Alabama. He said, I kind of had to make a decision here soon. Iowa State wanted an answer, and so did Alabama. So, I knew this was coming, but when it finally got to me, I feel like I was just so stressed out. So it's really a relief to get this off my shoulders, just to get it figured out. I just kind of decided 30 minutes ago. So, right before he did this interview is when he made the flip to Alabama, and it was just kind of a spur-of-the-moment thing. He said, I was on the phone with a bunch of people trying to get some advice, and I finally made my decision, but I feel good about it, and I'm really excited. Now, fun fact, one of the phone calls that he actually made was to Nick Sheridan to ask some advice. Whether or not that was, how do I go about, announcing the decision, that could definitely be a possibility there. But that is from Jett Thomalla on flipping to Alabama. So when you look at Alabama's quarterback room right now, you've got Ty Simpson, hopefully, the goal for him, I think, this year is really going to be to have a phenomenal season and go off to the NFL. And then next season, you have that quarterback battle between Austin Mack and Keelan Russell as well. We'll see what happens there. But just a little while ago on 3 Steel Voifong, I actually did report that Alabama told Bryson Beaver and Matt Ponitowski that they're still willing to take a second quarterback in this class, which I think it makes sense with only 3 quarterbacks being on the roster right now. You're probably going to lose one in Ty Simpson, so then you're down to 2, add the third, and, you're still just back to kind of square one where you're at right now. So a second quarterback in this class would be a really, really good thing. You also do have a preferred walk-on that we don't throw these walk-ons on the depth chart here, but John Gazanaga was a preferred walk-on, 6'7", 230 pounds, really, really big guy. Definitely think he's probably just a body to throw out there on the scout team, but who knows? You never know, with everything changing right now in college football, you have less walk-ons. Maybe this is a guy that could eventually earn a scholarship down the road as well. But, the possibility there with Alabama adding Jett Thomalla to this 2026 class, there still is another possibility that they could add a second quarterback to this class as well. So if you guys are fired up about Alabama landing Jett Thomalla, get down there in the comments section and type your RTRs for Roll Tide Roll down in the comments section of today's show. All right, now to the offensive lineman that Alabama has. Going to be protecting Jett Thomalla here. You have Sam Utu and Chris Booker. Utu is 6'4", 320 pounds, a really, really big dude, super athletic for his size as well. I really encourage people to go over to his Instagram page, actually, because he's a dual sport athlete as well. He actually plays volleyball, and when you talk about a guy that is 6'4", 320 pounds, getting up there and spiking balls, I mean, that's not something that guys that size should do, and Sam Utu can definitely do that. It's been reported that he's a guy that can play both inside on the interior of the offensive line, but possibly even outside at that tackle spot as well. They really love his hand size, his wingspan, just his versatility and athleticism there from Sam Utu. And then Chris Booker as well. This is a guy out of the state of Georgia who has taken other official visits throughout this process. Took an official visit to Georgia, Ole Miss, and Florida. His official visit to Alabama is actually set up this weekend. That's why we don't have a actual, Alabama photo for him there. And Sam Utu didn't really post any good ones that I could get there. But, when it comes to Chris Booker, he actually played a lot of left tackle this past season for his high school. And when you just watch his highlights, it's just highlight after highlight of him just driving guys 10, 15, 20 yards downfield. You think of, the movie The Blind Side. He does a lot of that where he's just driving guys through the whistle. And, when you talk about the mentality of an offensive lineman, not related at all, but he does remind me a lot of, Tyler Booker as well in terms of just finishing, guys there in the run game as well. This is what Hudson Stanish of 247 Sports said about Chris Booker in terms of he's kind of their ratings guy or rankings guy here. He said Booker rises to a 4-star 90 rating on 247 Sports as a unique athlete for the interior offensive line who appears to possess significant long-term upside. Booker can absolutely roll when tasked with climbing levels and is especially athletic and twitchy when working in close quarters. We believe Booker has legitimate 4-position flexibility, rare athleticism for the position in the frame space to eventually play around 320 pounds. Booker plays a lower level of competition in Georgia's AA classification, but dominates said competition while flashing the upside of a potential top 247 caliber interior body. So right now, Alabama has these 2 guys committed. You look at the offensive line room, and you kind of try to figure out where they're going to fit in. I think a lot of it has to do with need, right? Like, it just is kind of going to depend because, you're probably going to lose, or you're definitely going to lose Cam Dewberry. You're probably going to lose Caden Proctor to the NFL draft. Who knows on Parker Brailsford right now if he's going to be able to make it to the NFL draft. There's a chance you could lose your left tackle, your left guard, your center, your right guard all after this season. And After that, you're just going to have to be filling in a lot of spots. Now, you recruited really well last year as well, but I think the versatility that both of these guys bring can just really help Alabama out in terms of where they're actually going to play once they get that opportunity with the Crimson Tide. And it seems like as well, Alabama's going to take at least one more offensive lineman in this class as well. Who that's going to be, I guess we're just all going to have to find out together. All right, I want to give a shout out to our friends over at Fanatics. You guys can get $35 off this Alabama Columbia button-up right here. It's a really solid fishing shirt. Father's Day is already passed now, but if you didn't get your dad a Father's Day gift, you could always do it late. Just tell him it was on back order or something like that. Just go over to chatsports.com/Bama gear to get $35 off this Columbia button-up today. It's got the performance gear stuff on the back, got the little flap so it can breathe on the back as well. I'll put that link down in the comment section and the description of today's video. Let's go over to the defensive side of the ball now. Two of your cornerbacks that you have committed right now in this 2026 recruiting class. You have Jorden Edmonds, the singular 5-star that you have committed in this class right now. And then you also have Zyan Gibson, one of the more early players that Alabama has in this had committed in this 2026 class. Jorden Edmonds, 6'3", 175 pounds. So just another long corner that Kane Wommack is adding to this defensive backfield. And you also, we'll talk about how, it's going to relate here in just a second, but, he's just a really, really good player. There's nothing much more that I can say. Go watch his highlights. He's really freaking good. Georgia actually, it was reported that by Andrew Bone the other day that Georgia was actually pushing really, really heavy for an official visit from him. I don't necessarily want to say he shut down his recruitment, but in terms of official visits, he's not going to be taking any more official visits this summer, so that's a very positive thing. But I do want to make note, just because he's not taking an official visit does not mean the number 2 player out of the state of Georgia, the number 1 corner in this class, is still not going to get hit up by Kirby Smart and that Georgia defensive coaching staff as well. So they're still going to be coming after him. There's still a long way to go before that signing day actually comes about here. But as of right now, it really does seem like Jorden Edmonds is pretty locked down with Alabama. Zyan Gibson as well. He's 6 foot. 174 pounds as well. Now, he has actually taken other official visits here. He visited Tennessee. He visited Ole Miss the previous 2 weeks here, and it seems like they've been pushing really, really hard for him to end up flipping, especially Tennessee. There's been a lot of buzz there around Tennessee about how hard they've been going after Zyan Gibson here. And when you just kind of look at this cornerback depth chart right now, man, so many dogs in this cornerback room right now. Damani Jackson, he's probably going to be a guy that ends up going to the NFL after this season. But look, man, Zabian Brown's got at least 2 more years counting this year until he's eligible for the draft. Cam Calhoun, I believe he's got a couple additional years as well. Red Morgan was a freshman last year. And then you got Dejon Lee, former 5-star, super long, super lengthy. He's going to be a guy that's going to be really, really hard to keep him off the field this season. And then Chuck McDonald is a guy that wasn't even able to go through the springtime. He was still in high school at that time. He was one of these summer enrollees here. So, when you look at this cornerback depth chart, you add 2 of those guys, maybe the other kid from Georgia Tech as well, Jaden Terry. This cornerback room compared to last season when there was all that coaching turnover and, guys hitting the transfer portal and stuff like that, man, this room has really, really filled out very nicely for this Alabama coaching staff. Now, we will continue to break down the latest news, rumors, everything like that around Alabama recruiting, so do not miss out. Make sure you guys hit that sub button and stay up to date on all things Alabama football. That's youtube.com/@RollTideTV. All right, over now to the defensive line. These are honestly, this might be a hot take, but these are 2 of my favorite players in this 2026 recruiting class right now. You got Jamarion Matthews and Kamhariyan Johnson. Both these guys technically listed as edge rushers, but I think one of my favorite things about both of these guys is really the versatility. Both of them were a part of that photo shoot with Xavier Griffin as well. So they've been doing a lot of recruiting here for Alabama. I think Kamhariyan Johnson is a guy that can play both bandit and kind of go into that inside as well. He's listed at 6'3", 262 pounds right now. Jamarion Matthews, I think, is a guy that can play bandit or wolf. I think it's going to depend on what Alabama's needs are going to be along that defensive line / edge rushing group down the line. Because, look, defensive line is really a developmental position, right? So it could be a couple of years before you actually end up seeing these guys play for Alabama. So, going through the offseason, if they need or if they have a need at, the interior spot, maybe they can add some weight or take some weight off. Or maybe they need an extra bandit. So, they can play around with that and move these guys around. I think that's something that Kane Wommack has done a really, really good job of in terms of recruiting some of these guys, is getting guys that you can, maybe down the road actually change their position. Jamarion Matthews had an absolutely insane junior season in 10 games, 57 tackles, 29 of those tackles for losses, 17 sacks as well, also credited with 15 quarterback pressures. Now, he is technically now in the state of Georgia, the number 11 player out of the state of Georgia, but he played for Sparkman High School last year. And then ended up committing to Alabama in February, and then ended up actually moving to Georgia right after that commitment. So, you would like him to be an in-state guy, but at the end of the day, he's going to play his senior season in the state of Georgia. Some of the other visits that he has taken already, he was on campus at Auburn back on May 30th. I believe he took an unofficial visit to Tennessee. If you go on his Twitter page, he's got some pictures there from Tennessee that might have actually been just like a camp that he ended up going to with the rest of his team there. But he was on campus at Tennessee at the end of the day. And then Florida State was, getting an official visit from him as well. So I believe that one's coming up this weekend, but, kind of TBD actually when that is actually going to be there for Florida State. And then you talk about Kamhariyan Johnson as well. I think he's just super, super underrated, man. 47 tackles last year, 13 tackles for loss, 11 sacks, also credited with 32 hurries as well. He's taken a couple of other visits. He went to Auburn back on June 10th, and then he's got a visit to Miami scheduled here as well. He took his official visit to Alabama back on June 6th along with Jamarion Matthews. They were there on campus together. Man, this kid's film is just so fun to watch. I really can't say that enough. He's got so much motor. He's going sideline to sideline, chasing guys down, and really the twitch I think that he has is just something that's super, super underrated when you look at where he sits right now in this 247 Sports Composite ranking. So Jamarion Matthews, Kamhariyan Johnson, two guys along the defensive line right now that I'm super, super excited about. So who is the next recruit to end up committing to Alabama? I don't believe Hayes Fawcett's, Bama times 3 has really started yet, because Jett Thomalla said, like we discussed a minute ago, that he made his decision like 30 minutes ago before he committed. So I kind of think that didn't actually apply to that Hayes Fawcett tweet saying Alabama's got 3 commits coming down the line here. So let me know, who is the next commit, or who is the next recruit you think will commit to the Crimson Tide?